Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff, and it sure is a bittersweet symphony, this life. Sheesh. And joining me on the other end of the internet, my host.
I'm Leslie, and I'm the Marsha fucking Brady of the Upper East Side, and sometimes I want to kill myself.
So, is Buffy says that?
Oh, yeah.
And she is self-deluded. She is not the Marsha Brady of anything, but whatever.
I mean, I like that monologue because I like the fact that she feels it's how she feels.
Right.
And I know I'm already deep diving into this, but I don't care.
No, do it.
We don't see this until the very end. Her playing this part for everyone else. We only get to see her with Sebastian spinning her little web. So that monologue, as good as it is, could have been great if we were getting to see. I mean, we do get to see her behave like a little Mary Sunshine around Cecile and like her mother. But again, I don't know. It's one of many problems with this movie.
Yeah, I feel you. So was that?
Much as I like it for the cult classic of it, but I was definitely watching it this time with, why does this exist?
Yeah, all right, let's get into it. This week we are talking about Cruel Intentions, the 1999 what if a very particular type of porn trope was a whole ass movie starring Buffy the Vampire Slayer masterpiece, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Felipe, Selma Blair, Reese Witherspoon, and Nurse Ratched herself, Louise Fletcher, featuring Pacey, Bunny Lebowski, and Christine fucking Baranski. So there you go, Baranski heads. We're on it. We are doing this in conjunction with Season 3, Episode 12, Destiny Rides Again. And our spelling connection this week is Nurse Ratched. She was in an episode of Seventh Heaven. Actually, I think a few episodes of Seventh Heaven. So we are deeply connected. There's more, obviously, like spelling connections in here, but there's a certain amount of when you strike oil, quit digging.
Ooh.
You know, like I found the answer. I don't need to.
You might be the one oil person to say that.
Well, there's a reason that I'm not an oil person. Because it's a great analogy and a bad way to make money. So, all right. So, Dangerous Liaisons on the Upper West Side in 1999.
Who ordered this?
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, right?
Again, like,
why? Why this?
I'm fine with it, but I'm also of the mindset now where because I mean, within the first 5 minutes, I went, this is revenge porn. This whole thing is revenge porn.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think this is very good.
No,
like
it's not.
Like that's like I don't like to come on here and just shit on things. I've done it a couple times. See Romeo plus Juliet equals love. But and Pearl Harbor, boy, Pearl Harbor.
Down.
Fly Guy.
Mercy.
What if one of our airmen died because you fucked in those hammocks and parachutes? But I like. All right. So here's I think my big problem with this movie. And it starts from the first scene when he's like in therapy, right? And that therapist is not acting like a therapist.
No.
Not in any way a therapist acts. It's just weird. It's just crazy behavior in front of a client. Nobody does that. That's not. So I like the first thing I texted you was like, well, this lady's weird.
I know.
And then 10 minutes into the movie, I'm like, fuck, everybody's weird. Nobody in this movie acts like a person.
No.
Like, and they're not acting like. They're also, I think, some of them not in the same movie. Like, I don't know what Selma Blair is doing in this movie. She's Donna Martining all over the place. Like, she is pratfalling and being silly, and like the whole like act sexy on the bed scene where she's just, I don't know what is happening there. Like, no one else is being broad comedy, but she is.
It's like it's like they were trying to say rich people aren't people or aren't real people.
Well, and since
Except
that's everybody in the movie is a rich person, so none of them are real. Like, but the problem with that is when you get to the end of the movie and you're watching Sebastian like cry all the time and
I
shit,
know.
you're like, why should I believe you have emotions? Like, you haven't acted like you've acted like a weird robot this entire time. And then
Yeah.
at the end you're crying and then you die. And spoilers. Um and like Buffy is spending the entire movie acting like a weird sex robot until the end when she gets her comeuppance and like she she thinks we're supposed to feel bad for her or something. And but
I don't know.
I don't know what the movie wants us to, because we don't have a protagonist.
Not really. And the way it ends too kind of left me feeling, oh no, Reese Witherspoon slash Annette is is she going to be the next Montoya? Which I'm gonna preface this right now. I did this show in college. I'm gonna accidentally use the real characters' names.
Okay, who the hell's that? Is that
Montoya
Buffy?
is Buffy.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna do my best. Sorry.
No, it's
It's gonna
okay.
be so
Just when you,
it's not.
no. Just when you do it, just explain it to me, because I have not seen Dangerous Liaisons, and uh, I actually considered renting it yesterday so that I could like get a feel for what the like. I read the synopsis and I'm like, okay, that's definitely this movie. Um, but like, I don't like costume dramas and whatever, so it just I if it had been free, I would have watched it, but it was going to cost me $4, and I did like I didn't have. Dangerous Liaisons is not $4 interesting to me at this point. It's free interesting to me.
Certainly not with John Malkovich. I'm throwing him under the bus. You know what I wish I could watch? When Alan Rickman played that role. Oh,
Oh, well, sure.
because there is the breakup scene to end all breakup scenes in that show.
But
I just
between who, Buffy and Sebastian?
no
Oh,
between Sebastian Valmont and Annette um
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon. Yeah. Oh,
Okay, so let me ask you this, because he's awful and terrible person, and he doesn't really like her, and then he breaks up with her or whatever at the end, and there's a fucking montage about all the wonderful times they spent together, and they have this breakup, and I don't feel anything. Because like, you
yeah.
show me that montage and I'm like, well, the whole time he was manipulating her, that nothing there is real. So now I don't remember, help me here, is that her memory or is it his memory? I feel like it's his, like we're being
It's
presented.
because she's driving, so we're seeing it from as if they're her memories.
Oh, right, it's her, right.
Yeah.
So she thinks back on all of this very fondly, but we're all like, this was fucked from the start. And I don't know how she gets his car. I don't know. She didn't bet him for the. I don't know how that went.
She gets this car. I don't know why she's driving away from the city when I'm like, bitch, you've got school.
Well, she had to go back where the movie started, which was near that cemetery on the. She had to take the same highway. That's why.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure she turned around. You know how stupid I am about plot.
It's putting a hopeful, somewhat, I'm not going to say a positive spin. It's giving us a glow
Hmm.
at the end of this movie, and there is no glow at the end of the play.
Yeah, I just thought of, because I just saw it last week, is Noises Off, where he's like, well, since we're stopped, um, why am I taking the box and the purse into the office? That doesn't seem like that makes any sense. And they're like, Freddie dear, you have to do that because it needs to be in there for when I come in. I see that. Like, like, but I don't know why I'm doing it. And then he's like, wow, because there was lost pages in the original script that you
so
never got
funny.
to see. It's so funny. His answer is just like, can we just fucking get through the scene?
Yeah.
And so that's why she like, I see that like she had to drive there so that the movie started and ended at the same place. But I don't know why she's doing it. I don't, you know how stupid I am about plot.
Oh, something that we should all, want from a story.
Yeah. So like we're set up to. So here's what happens in this movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. Um, uh, Sebastian, Ryan Felipe, curly hair white dude, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer are step siblings who want to fuck each other.
Oh yeah.
They're both terrible people. He has a book in his car next to him that's not Byron the Collected Works. It's in fact a diary of every horrible thing he's ever done. It's a little bit like the second half of Al Franken's wonderful book, Why Not Me? Have I told you about this book?
Maybe, but I don't remember.
It's maybe the funniest book I've ever read. And he wrote it in like the mid 90s, and it envisions him at winning the presidency in 2000. And so it like the first half, the whole thing is written as a diary. Like, this is what I did on this day of the campaign, and he's also got things like memos, like video copied and pasted in there from like his campaign manager, and like describing the campaign. But he's just the worst. Like, and he's like, all right, from this point forward, I'm going to start using code names. And so like this guy whose first name starts with like, this guy's name is Jamie or whatever. And he just like, starts calling him Jay. Like his code names are terrible. And then, it's like, think Jay is a dick. And like, it's shit like that. And then there's a memo in there that's like, things we have done that might be illegal, are probably illegal and are definitely illegal. And it's like, burn this note. But instead of burning it, he's like pasted it in his diary. And then like the diary comes out and ends his presidency 1 month into it. And so like, this is, I feel like, why keep this diary? Think Jay is a dick. Like it's a bad idea to write all this stuff down. Ryan Felipe Sebastian. The only reason I don't call him Ryan Felipe is because it's easier to say Sebastian, but it's easier to say Buffy than it is to say whatever her other name is.
Yeah, like
certainly these French things you're saying, I don't even know what the fuck's going on over there.
I know.
A lot.
Everyone's going to be so confused on characters, and we will do our best.
It's a lot of strands in the old duder's head.
Yeah.
But my broader point is he's awful, got the diary. She's awful. Like she's upset because somebody that we're never shown as an interesting person or even with her.
Yeah.
It's like she's upset that he dumped her.
Yeah.
Which carries no weight to the audience because again, you don't know this guy, you don't know their relationship, you're not shown any reason why she feels connected to him. I think we're just meant to feel like she's like butthurt. So,
it's funny because while I do think things like one's reputation very much still carries the same weight from a Baroque period as it does for teenagers.
Sure.
I really think the writing is where a lot of this is suffering.
Okay.
I feel like they were trying too hard to do this person is this, we have to keep this through line. Virgin Manifesto is fine, but technically that character is married, so like, and she's just religious. You could have done the religious.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You you could have still kept it as she's a very devout teenager. Like,
Right.
they wanted to, and,
But I don't ever believe that.
well, exactly, because they make it more about being a virgin, So it's
Right.
devotion in a new way, but the 90s of this whole movie is very clear. Like, we have
Hmm.
overly verbose, know-it-all teenagers, which love it.
Hmm.
Keep that. I'm fine with it. But then I think you kind of need to amplify I mean, well, and they did. The characters are very big, but it's hard to take them seriously because I don't think they're taking themselves seriously.
Yeah. And like you blame the writing, and you might be right, but I also blame the direction. Like
Sure.
the choices, like all of these performances are done on purpose. And it's not like they accidentally did this. Like he was super aggro sex robot. She was like I don't know, awkward diabolical vamp, because like her sexiness is kind of awkward. It's a little bit weird. And then there's like, I don't know, two-dimensional virgin girl. And
it's all pretty one note. I'm feeling
yeah, and then
about this.
comic relief lady. And like they're all weird, and like that, and they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
And at the end, they were like, "This is the movie we wanted to make." Like, there's a fantastic Simpsons episode where it's the Springfield Film Festival, and there's a number of wonderful movies in this, but the one that wins is the one made by it was either like Barney's was like this new wave thing, and maybe it was going to win, or Hans Moleman getting hit in the groin with a football, because it works on so many levels. The football, his groin. But Mr. Burns made this sweeping epic, directed by the non-union Mexican equivalent of Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
They couldn't afford Steven Spielberg. So get me the non-union Mexican equivalent. So they hired Senor Spielbergo. It's so dumb.
So you
And
this?
well, no, here's what I'm getting to. There's a scene in the movie where Mr. Burns is supposed to like rear up on his horse and ride off into the sunset. And he rears up and falls off the horse and gets dragged out of the scene. And he turns to Smithers in the audience and said, "We did 37 takes and that was the best one."
Oh no.
Which is kind of maybe what's happening here. Like we took the best take of everything that happened, and this is what we've got, and this is the best we could do.
I feel like maybe they should have just leaned into the dark comedy of it, because it's very dark and they do some of the darkness well, but again, a lot of it is just it's too heavy to be realistic for teens.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it's too heavy of sexual subject matter to be realistic for teens. It's kind of like how we've made the joke that, Dylan's had sex with all these people. And
right.
Like,
Not
when,
a joke.
In what century, on what timeline?
Right.
And I kind of feel that way with this, like, sure, there could be sexually confident teenagers. Okay, but are they Buffy Murtoya?
Right.
Are also like, yes, kids can be horrible and manipulative, like they can have all these traits, but to the level that these kids
right
originally played by adults, character wise, again, it's a weird thing to have ordered for and I really wish that they had just, I don't know, made it a dark comedy. I read that it was supposed to be like an indie film at first, and I thought it probably would have been better that way.
It might have been, but they were able to get such, like, here's the other problem. They had such good actors in this.
Yeah, that's like, it's so confusing that it is like I don't know, so charactery. Like it should have been on stage, but even then it might have been too big.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's it. It's everything is too big. Maybe that's what I was getting. Is that
Yeah.
all the performances are too fucking big. And so when they bounce into each other, and because they're all so big and none of them feel like real human people,
Hmm.
and also your POV characters are terrible, that like I don't I think we're supposed to feel bad for Sebastian.
And yet I don't.
No, I don't. I don't know how you can, but I think we're supposed to, right? Like he's our entry point into the movie. He's our POV. Like we start the movie in his car seeing him. And
Yeah.
then we see him in therapy being treated terribly by this really fucking weird therapist.
Yeah.
But then it turns out that he just like, I don't know, he posted nude pictures of Bunny Lebowski and on the internet, which was like just invented like 2 weeks ago.
Right?
And like so like you're immediately told this is not a sympathetic character because like the first thing he does is something shitty. And maybe you're supposed to see, but he did it before she was shitty to him. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're supposed to go, oh, she was mean to him, he got her back, nailed it. Like
Yeah.
just like, oh, he was an asshole and so was she. And so then he starts to interact with Buffy, and for what we see her first, and we see her pretending to, she's like Eddie Haskell full blown with Baranski, and then she's like, fuck everybody, I'm the Black Widow Spider Lady. And so we're like, okay, well, we're not supposed to root for her either. She's obviously very bad.
Yeah.
She's a terrible person. And then we're shown right after that she's hurting inside, right? Because this mystery dude
Hurting is a
broke up with her.
strong word.
Sure, but that's the idea,
Yeah.
right? Like he was mistreated, but he did something shitty. She's being shitty, but she was mistreated,
Yeah.
right? So like you're getting both, but you by showing us the shitty part first, or not, you don't even show the shitty part first for him. It doesn't work either way.
Well, and okay, so here was the weak point with that because they had him just being an idiot. Like he's just blackout drunk while she's going down on him. Sorry, listeners, but that's what's happening. Like, and
Who
in
is when?
the guy she's upset.
Oh, okay. We're talking about Buffy. Okay, got it. I thought we were talking about Sebastian. Got it. Okay.
Buffy's ego is bruised because some guy wasn't attentive to her when she was going down on him. And it's like, okay, well, that's definitely not, again, the story in the play. Like this man that she's wanting, that starts this whole avalanche of things, has spoken ill of this character. And
Okay.
of course, that makes a world of difference in the Baroque time period.
Sure.
It would make the same, it would have the same feeling with teens. So I don't know why they didn't just have her be like, he's going around calling me a slut to people.
Right. Starting rumors or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I didn't have my Coke necklace like her. Just...
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That's everybody's problem. Not enough Coke necklaces.
I do love that prop so much.
Yeah, it's solid. Also, it's a cross, and she's Buffy, but
Oh man, I never
Like-
thought about that.
Buffy wears a cross. She has to. With vampires. Probably. So, but we've got these two main characters, right? That are we see feel aggrieved, but are big assholes. And then they do the trading places, and they place a bet on. Now it's for more than $1. It's for
Bodies.
it's for a car or butt stuff, and then we have these two victim people, right? We have the two-dimensional virgin and the comic relief character. The comic relief character is taking cello lessons from another rich kid like 15. I'm off the streets. I'm from 59th and Park.
I
Um,
know.
yeah, that was like the weird like trying to shove like a bigotry storyline in there was weird.
Well, okay, I was just thinking earlier, this movie is a time capsule for the
Uh-huh.
90s
Sure.
because this movie has everything. It has interracial love, it has gay stuff, gay stereotypes, it has. Okay, I can't keep doing it because I'm not Bill Hader.
No. Oh, wait a minute. You're not cousin Bill.
I'm sorry, Cousin Bill.
Yes, everyone. Bill Hader's our cousin. He doesn't know us, but he's our cousin. I
Yeah.
learned it on television. Um, hashtag real fact. So this is cousin Bill. It even has AOL. I mean, it's got everything from the late '90s.
It's everything from the late 90s. I mean, it's a mashup of 90210 and Dawson's Creek.
It's but what it is more is Gossip Girl, just a couple years early. Like this, have you ever watched Gossip Girl? Because this Gossip Girl feels like this. Gossip Girl feels almost exactly like this.
That's
Like
hilarious to me that you've seen it.
I watched the first. Look. I've always. We're doing a podcast about 90210 for God's sake. I have always been a fan of shows about pretty people who have problems. Like, and so I like teen dramas like 90210 and Dawson's Creek and Felicity and The OC. Like, I watched all these shows. I watched Gossip Girl for the first, I don't know, 3-4 years before I just I petered out on it and I didn't finish it. But this Gossip Girl feels like this, rich asshole kids doing rich asshole kid things to each other. But like, it does a better job of giving you a rooting interest because I don't know who the protagonist of this film is.
It's Annette Reese Witherspoon.
It's not though. She doesn't drive any of the action. You know what I mean?
No,
like she's the
pivotal character.
She's the victim. She's the one who comes out on top, but she's not like the protagonist is Sebastian. He's the one, or it's Buffy, because they're the ones who the things they do drives the action.
I think that's the problem some people have now with the play. Because on an intimacy choreographer Facebook page, someone had posted something about dangerous liaisons.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want it noted that I am not doing the full French title. I'm giving you all the English title.
Well, thank God. I can't take more than 2 French words in a row. We know this.
I know. People can't. But someone brought up, and again, I did the play. I like it, but I think I like it because I did it. And it's one of those that, like, it's really challenging and dramatic, so who wouldn't want to do it?
Mm-hmm.
But someone brought up the great question, why are we still doing this play? And I thought, especially as I watched it, I went, why are we still doing this play?
Yeah.
Because as you're asking the question for the movie, who is the protagonist, I'm thinking the same thing for the play. Because, again, we have antagonists galore,
mm-hmm.
and then we have victims.
Right.
The only person who might come out on top is Cecile, Selma Blair's character.
Right.
But, again, I would say the one person who comes out happily in this, we don't see it, we hear about it. Again, I'm mashing up the play and the movie, but it's just a very weird thing that I don't know what we're supposed to get out of other than shock factor of like, ooh, look how sexually manipulative people can be and how horrible rich people can be. Shocker.
All right, here's a thought that I literally just had while you were talking. I've not processed this more. But does this movie start the anti-hero trend of the aughts?
Ooh.
Because like we all know that, we get your Don Drapers, your Tony Sopranos, your Walter Whites, like all of these deeply Yeah, well, sure. Um, Deeply manipulative, terrible people as our main
Mhm.
characters. And this drives television for the next 10 to 20 years. Like we're still it's faded, I think. We're a little bit past the men behaving badly as our main character.
And not for long.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the art reflects life. But um maybe that's what he is. Like
Hmm.
he is that before maybe they figured out how to do it. Because I don't root for him, but you root for Tony Soprano. Like you root for Walter White up until Walter White is a litmus test for how sociopathic you are as a human being when you watch it.
Yes.
Like there's a unless you're a straight up monster, you give up on Walter White before the end of the series. You go, that's a bridge too far. Like this guy is awful. I'm not rooting for him. You're still like rooting for the story because it's so damn good and so compelling and
Yeah.
so well written, and the characters are also like. Um, but there's a point where you're just not rooting for him anymore. But there's never a point where you're rooting for Sebastian, except for then at the end you're supposed to feel bad because she's crying and they saves her from a rogue cab. I mean, I just never do. I don't. There's no
It's
redemption for him. He doesn't try to be redeemed.
it's playing it's the trope again of you broke her heart, but she's the one, or you're the one we're supposed to feel sorry for. We're seeing this with Dylan's
Mm-hmm.
with Dylan's character. We see this on Dawson's Creek with Pacey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening about it right now on Pod Meets World for War Meets
Mm.
World. Like, all these men did bad things or didn't treat their girlfriend well,
Right.
didn't treat her how she deserved. And yet, the writers flip it and are like, oh, but look how sad they are about it. They feel bad.
Right.
You should feel bad. You should feel bad, you horrible person. How dare you let this man be broken up over you? You should take him back.
Mm.
You bitch.
Yeah, but
That's
that's
what we get.
that's I it's fucking weird, and it's not like
Also, keep in mind, we were definitely watching Ryan Felipe and Reese Witherspoon fall in love.
oh, are they still together? I don't know what their deal is.
Oh
I don't
no.
care about this shit. Here's the problem. I watch this and I go, he's not Freddie Prinze Jr., right? So this isn't when she met him. Like I'm like maybe
Well,
I'm putting Buffy, like that's not right.
yeah.
I get it all confused.
It's a weird thing, and it's. I'm not going to go into this today, but it's just there have been a lot of stories coming up about these actors who are now dating and they were together on a show, and I'm just like, I'm not saying that can't happen, but like, why does it happen?
Yeah. Um.
And so, like, I feel like this is definitely one of those where, again, I don't know, the whole story doesn't matter. Like they fell in love on this, got together, had a family, broke up, and I feel like it's definitely for the best that they did, because I think Reese Witherspoon seems a lot healthier and better without him. And I feel like I'm kind of amazed he got any work after this, because they don't use him well. If he can do anything, I'm not seeing it.
Well, no one's used well in this because they're all so big. Everything is too big.
But I can still, well, then I guess call me sexist, because I can only see that the women are good in this. I do not see that he's good.
Um. I don't. No, I don't think. I don't. I think he's doing what he's been asked to do. You know.
Well,
I don't think
it's
he's
terrible. It's
making
like,
bad choices. I think the movie is making bad choices because they're all bad. They're all big and weird.
yeah, and I just realized too, the Joshua Jackson is so good in this. Like for the bit that he's on screen, I mean, he's so underused, which is
Mhm.
fine, because his part isn't large in the play anyway. But it
He's a ship's doctor now. He's really grown up.
I'm glad he's still doing well. He's good.
No more frosted tips for
Oh
him.
my god, the blonde in this was killing me. I was like, why did we make him
I
blonde?
know.
Why?
I know. Well, Pacey had like the little you know.
But they made him. They said, "Oh, I guess in the '90s, being gay meant having dark ass eyebrows and super blonde hair."
It's not properly dealing with your roots, is what it is. That's what being gay in the '90s is. It's all about roots. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Um. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I don't know what that is, but I like it. All right. So, do you want to talk about intimacy
Hell yes, I do.
and adventures therein?
Yes, I do.
I figured you might have some thoughts in this
Oh
movie.
boy, I have many. So one of the
I was gonna say.
let me cook. One of the first things I thought of while I was watching this is how do we portray innocence? Because it was fascinating to me in this film. Because they made some extreme choices. And one, we have the obvious white clothing. Like, okay, we get it. But on Cecile, Selma Blair, she's wearing cartoon character like stuff on her clothing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Very cartoonish. She doesn't really get anything adult looking or less child looking until she's in that red hoodie. And so another thing I noticed, the obvious ones how we portray innocence and virginity are white clothing, childish clothing, devotional in some way, and then no makeup. Her and Reese are not Coke.
That's the devotion of a sort.
It's true. But Selma and Reese are very like pure face this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I thought was very interesting for her, Selma Blair, is they wanted her to be doing like this, to be showing off her angles and being gangly and just disgust. I mean, she's grossed out by this stuff, by sexuality, by doing anything adult. The way she speaks, the way she's behaving, and again, it could have been toned down and we still would have gotten it. Because I felt.
Can I tell you this real quick? Because you haven't seen this to this degree yet, but there is a huge amount of Donna Martin in her performance.
Interesting.
Like, Tori does all kinds of like big goofy physical comedy stuff, which we've seen a little bit to this point in season 3, but like as the show goes on and the writers start to write the characters a little bit more like the people who are acting them, Tori gets a little more goofy stuff to do because she's a goofball as a person. Like, that's just her, and she gets awkward physical things to do. And watching Selma Blair in this, I'm like, boy, I see that so strong.
And maybe that was an influence, and
it might have been.
That's the trope that I like least in this portrayal of innocence. I'm not saying that, I mean, yes, toddlers are, falling over when they're first walking. When you're first learning how to dance, you're going to be gawky and gangly. Gawky. How often is that used to describe teen characters and things? But then, I mean, I guess I like the fact that she keeps it up a little bit after she's finally had sex. Like, oh, this hasn't immediately changed her. She's not Buffy all of a sudden. But I just found that very interesting. Another question I had and found interesting in how they portrayed it is, how do we draw people in, And I'll get to the bigger stuff, people, don't worry. But, like, how we draw people in also involves intimacy. We see hairbrushing. We see teaching people how to do stuff is a big thing because the cello teacher gets right on her. Yeah. And, like, that might be the sweetest sexual moment in it because he's not trying to manipulate her at all, at least not in the way other people are. Like, he likes her. Theirs is a genuine caring for each other, if you're able to see that in this movie. But, like, he's playing and she just kind of gently goes limp and, like, is her face against his. It's a very sweet moment. Sharing interests / giving gifts, playing, like, which those three we see a lot in between Sebastian and Annette, Reese Witherspoon's character. People are going to get so annoyed with how much we're...
No, it's okay. We got to make it clear because, like, there's probably people who watch and listening to this who haven't seen this movie.
Okay.
You know, that's my guess.
But, like, he plays music she likes. He, like, blares it in her room.
Right.
They go swimming. I think does he buy her something? It doesn't matter. There's a gift exchange at some point. You know,
Right.
And then at another point, she's making faces to make him laugh, which...
But, yeah. But I don't believe any of that shit.
Well, and that's where the intimacy in this is not very good.
Yeah.
You know?
Like that scene in the car where like they're holding hands and she's making face. I don't buy any of it.
No.
None of it works for me.
No, it's
weird. Again, it's too big.
It's too big, and it's not... They're kind of jumping around with like, oh, this is supposed to be what makes her... Him volunteering for the day is supposed to convince her that, oh, he's willing to do nice things for people. Honey.
Right.
You've been projecting this I'm smarter than that mentality the whole time. And I understand if you want to believe the good in people, but just like, I don't know. Maybe that's where sex makes people dumb, which it can. But onto bigger stuff.
Bigger than Ooh. In the passenger seat of the car.
Yes.
Bigger than that.
I
don't think it's possible.
One of the most we have two very iconic intimate scenes here. We have Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy, kissing Cecile, Selma Blair. And again, with the 90s time capsule of it all, they were loving women kissing other women with no context for queerness. But for any of the men, they had to hide it. You couldn't show that shit. You couldn't. I mean, we do have technically two same-sex pairings in this at one point. I would say the women's is not, again, it's not queer-coded. They're not supposed to actually dig each other, although Cecile does seem very interested, and I think that could have been funny to play up more. In the 90s, they weren't going to. And again, the men, we hear about it. We hear it.
Yeah.
We don't see them together at all. They're just shirtless in their underwear in bed. And I mean, they have Joshua Jackson way on the back and the other guy up front. And it's like, we get it. Y'all are homophobic. The 90s were not as progressive as we thought they were.
Yeah. Real quick, the kiss.
Yes.
So I saw that and I thought, well, I'm sure that won Best Kiss at the MTV Movie Awards. And I just looked it up and I was right.
It did, probably for that long strand of saliva.
That little bit of, a little bit of spitta. Would you like to know what else was nominated that year for Best Kiss?
Oh, tell me.
Okay. I feel like, okay, I'll just tell you what they are. Drew Barrymore and Michael Vartan from Never Been Kissed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is fucking creepy because that dude thought she was a student. Like the whole movie, he thought she was a student.
She's not.
And that movie's fucked up. Katie Holmes and Barry Watson in Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which is a movie I never saw. I remember it existing, but I never saw it. And another movie I have not seen but know about, Hilary Swank and Chloe Sevigny in Boys Don't Cry.
Oh, and that one couldn't win because it really was a queer relationship. So, wow. Right. This wins as a pure reflection of the time. I mean,
fucking horniness is what this wins for.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a very intriguing scene. You know, I would say the lead up to all of it is so much better. Like the fact that it's right straight up on them, it would have been good if I didn't feel like they were doing it just for like, get a load of this, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's what's interesting about it. And I think I've mentioned this before, but the first on-screen gay kiss in television history was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah.
And it's between two characters who I don't want to say who they are because
I kind of know. I think
you probably do. But like at the beginning of at the start of the show, one of those characters, she's not gay for a few seasons, like until she doesn't sort of realize it. She dates guys, whatever, But anyway, the kiss is in reaction to a character's death. It is two people in love comforting each other.
Aww.
It's not sexual in any way.
Yeah.
It's natural. It is the way that two people are dating when something terrible happens come together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right around this time. Like that season of Buffy, it might be after this actually, which is interesting and weird.
I find it really fascinating too that they are out in the middle of Central Park. I mean, in a way, this kiss should kind of make people angry, but not for the reasons they think. I think it should make people angry for the fact that, like, well, all right, hold on, I'm going to back up.
Back it up. Beep, 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 beep.
I'm trying to think of how to, because on the one hand, I feel like in history, women being with women has been more permissible than men being with men.
Sure.
And that is true on some levels. We see that in this.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, obviously, queerness is not accepted, And the way they frame these two women kissing is just, don't you practice on your girlfriends? Like, why wouldn't you practice kissing with it? That's how all the girls do it, which I was like, I missed that memo.
Yeah.
That could have been interesting.
That's how all the girls do it in guys' heads.
I was told pillows.
Sure. Or like
on your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You paint a little lipstick and you go, hello, give me kisses. Like that.
Humans are weird.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I've milked that cow dry on that intimate moment. What a weird analogy I made, but here we are. Yep. Gross.
As I understand it, you have to start at the top of the udder and work your way down.
Good God.
But that's how you have to. I've been on field trips to farms and I've seen them teach kids how to milk cows, and that you have to start at the top of the teat and work your way down.
Oh my God! Please stop. Also, Jesus Christ, Jeff.
You're the one who said milking a cow. It's not my fault that I then did this for a full minute.
Also, shout out to the phrase, why buy the milk when you can have the cow for free or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, fuck that nonsense. If you've said that to your daughter or had it said to you, I'm sorry, I'm going to come up with a number that you can call to get some help. Maybe get some comeuppance from Morgan and Morgan. I don't know, but you deserve better. Anyway.
Breathe. Bigger!
What's
bigger?
We have.
What's the other one?
It's Ryan Felipe and Reese Witherspoon, their love scene, which that was also nominated for something like best. Again, I think it was nominated. Why do we have this?
That's boning in a movie.
I don't know why we have this. And again, I'm hoping they were like over 18 because it's just weird. Like,
yeah, they were in their 20s.
Okay. I don't know. I don't think this was great. I think I loved the music underneath, although I feel like we'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to jump ahead. I think they were trying to be tasteful with it in terms of like, this is supposed to be a love-making scene.
Mm-hmm.
However, we see her face more than his, and barely. Like, there was still acting to be done in this moment, and all it was about bodies, except
right.
Part of what is part of what is the struggle for Valmont is that he is slash Sebastian, Ryan
Sure.
Furby, is that he is falling for her. You know, in his own messed up way, he
Right.
does fall in love with her, and we should see that conflict playing across his face more in this.
Yeah.
We we maybe see his hair. We clearly see more of him on top of her. Again, it was very strange angles, and they were just trying to show skin. I think you did
Hmm.
get a beautiful shot of um like her lying there looking up at him, and like there it's a breathing moment, and it's truly just to see her crusting bosom against him.
Right, but no nips.
No, because probably said no. um
Probably.
that's what I'm
Also,
hearing.
maybe for the PG-13 of it all. Was it PG-13 or like they might have been trying for the rating?
Yeah, true. That would make more sense because no one respects what we want or
Yeah.
don't want to be shown.
Not this. Oh no, it's rated R. Not the scene I thought you were going to talk about.
Tell me what. Well, first of all, is there anything else you wanted to add to that? Because I feel like I've probably said enough about how like what did and didn't work in it.
No, because that scene didn't strike me the way this one did. Like it's whatever. Because I don't fucking believe it. I don't believe that. I don't believe anything about him, and so there's no culmination for me in that scene. The scene where Buffy is laying back against Sebastian,
Oh,
and
yes.
reaches her hand behind her back and is teasing him the whole time and then gets up and walks away. That's the scene that sticks out to me from like a physicality standpoint, and from like the way that like he's touching her and not quite touching her boobs, but like there's just a lot of very intentional physicality in that scene.
I was torn on my feelings for that scene because I liked it. I wish it had been shot differently.
Okay.
I kind of wish they hadn't. I wish they hadn't been zooming in more and like because again, you see that there is this one. I feel like they make it look good, but it also struck me as this would be so awkward. This would be so awkward in real life. Not to say that you can't do that. I just feel like maybe if she had used her shoulder more,
Okay,
like
sure.
her shoulder blade, I feel
Sure,
like
sure,
that
sure.
would have been more comfortable and more realistic and sensual if she had used her shoulder and shoulder blade instead of like her hand, her arm.
Yeah. I don't know.
And again, I liked the fact that I think at one point he's like tiptoeing his fingers down her collarbone, down her torso, and like he does at one point like put his hand there, which that part felt awkward. I'm like, you could have just had a caress or like your hand glazing over, doing something about the roundness and not just hand on it,
Right, sure.
But again, he's a teenager, so like points for showing that he's a teenager.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't want them zooming in on it. Because I thought it took away from the fact that she's holding the power in this moment. Like she has him in the palm of her hand.
Literally.
And yeah, literally. Yeah. So cool scene. Could have been cooler.
I feel like it's the one sexy scene that works as a sexy scene.
I would agree.
Anything else for intimacy?
I'm shaking it out. No, that's all I got.
All right, so needle drop forest time. I don't know exactly where I want to go with this because the thing I wrote down is I'm pretty sure the soundtrack is better than the movie.
Yeah.
But the music that's on the soundtrack is tied to this movie. Like very strongly tied. Like the closeout with Bittersweet Symphony, like that is Bittersweet Symphony is from this movie. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
same way that Colorblind by Counting Crows is from this movie because it's used in that montage. And as we talked about on Rounders, it's the reason that the song on Rounders doesn't end up on the Rounders soundtrack. And the only place you could ever hear it was over the closing credits because Adam Duritz was like, well, we just gave Colorblind to Cruel Intentions, and we didn't want to put we wanted people to buy our records, not their records. So, it was just and we didn't want to be like only on soundtracks and whatever. So like there's those music moments are tied strongly to the visuals of the movie. But I think I'm not a Bittersweet Symphony fan, but I think generally speaking, the soundtrack doesn't. You know why? I think, and also I think Colorblind is one of my least favorite Counting Crows songs, and it's because they're so attached to this movie that I don't have like fond memories of.
That's fair. And I don't know that Colorblind is the right song for that moment. I feel like they picked it just because you have him saying "I'm ready" over and over and
Right.
over again. It's like, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Right.
Can you be a bit more artistic and pick something less obvious? Because I don't feel like this song is not about what is happening here.
No.
I don't feel like neither of them are revealing more about themselves to
Right.
each other. Neither of them know each other, really.
Mm-hmm.
That song, if they wanted it to be a reflection of Annette finally learning who Sebastian is, us learning who he is, show his fucking face.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say one thing that I didn't remember until seeing this this time is that that there's an Amy Mann song in it.
Oh.
Which is like You Can Make a Killing is the one that's in this. But this was a big year for Amy Mann and movie soundtracks because this is when she did Magnolia.
Oh.
And when Amy Mann, right? Do you know who she is?
I don't, but I should.
Oh my God, you fucking should. So she was the song Voices Carry by Tilt Tuesday? Oh, shush, keep it down, down. Voices carry from like the 80s. That was her.
Okay.
Yeah, that was her band. And Till Tuesday sort of broke up and she was in like this, I don't know, she'd been dropped by her record label or whatever. And she does the movie soundtrack for Magnolia. Like, I think almost the whole thing. And she has a song on this, You Can Make a Killing, which is a great song. And she has this like solo career that launches after this in like the aughts, where she has just a number of fantastic albums. So like this is like a second chapter start for Amy Mann, but highly recommend you get into Amy Mann. She's really good.
I will make a note of that. Also, I just realized, is Magnolia the movie that John Oliver had that plumbing company make a commercial out of?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Have you not seen Magnolia?
It's like, this movie sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, how have you seen any of Paul Thomas Anderson's work?
Did he do Memento?
No. There Will Be Blood, The Master.
Yes. No.
Boogie Nights.
I tried watching that. I couldn't.
Yeah, and Magnolia.
I couldn't finish it.
Yeah. I'm not a big Family Guy fan, but there's a Peter Griffin says that he doesn't like The Godfather, and somebody is like, how in God's name can you not like The Godfather? It's one of the greatest movies ever. I'm making up the dialogue, but his response basically to how can you not love this is it insists upon itself. And that's how I feel generally speaking about the works of PTA. It insists upon itself. And that's what Magnolia does. I'd like to watch it again because a lot of people love this movie in ways that I don't quite get because, again, I think it insists upon itself. But like, I think maybe there's just a whole bunch of people who love PTA, and I'm just not quite one of them. But anyway, she did the soundtrack for Magnolia, and
Cool.
it's great, and the music she does is I love her. She's really good. And she's good music for a fall day.
Oh, okay.
Like just mood wise, it's a good fall day music a lot of the time, I think.
Might play her on the drive back to New York next week.
Oh, that would be good. I think you'd enjoy that. Um, what from this soundtrack like has a like lands for you? What do you think about?
Bittersweet Symphony.
Yeah. You obviously like
I
it more
love
than
it.
I do, so go ahead.
I mean, trying to make ends meet, you're a slave to the money, then you die.
Sure. Bummer.
Yep. Well, I'm a bummer. In the best way possible.
That's right. I mean, I was going to say that part. I was going to say in the best way possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew you were.
Yeah.
I really like that song. Once again, I don't know that it's right for this moment. It's landed iconic status, but it kind of, this song in this moment insists upon itself. Trying once again to show that like these kids know more and are more mature and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, they're not. They're fucking kids.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a very overly dramatic moment.
Yeah.
Like with the reveal of everything she's done, and everyone's standing there judging her,
Right.
and crying. I'm like, I am confused by all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange moment, but it turns it into a music video, and I'm okay with it. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on the song here.
There you go.
What's happening is baffling to me.
It's baffling. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I don't know. That song just doesn't. I don't know. Songs just work for you or they don't, and that one's like meh for me.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. What else time? Is this anyone's defining role?
Ryan Felipe.
I think probably, yeah. Maybe Selma Blair too.
I didn't know. She was in Legally Blonde. She's okay. But yeah, I had no idea. I think my parents were watching one of their cop dramas that they love, and he showed up, and I was like, he got work again?
Yep, he's out there getting it done apparently.
I had never seen this man in anything else.
I don't know if I have either.
Yeah. But I don't know if this is anyone else's defining.
It's definitely not Buffy's.
It's not Reese Witherspoon's.
It's not Reese Witherspoon's. It might be Selma Blair's. It really might. Because I can't think of her in anything else.
I guess so. See, and I first saw her in Legally Blonde, so...
And that's a movie I've seen once and when I don't really get the hype. It's fine. But, like, people really fucking love that movie. And I was like, all right, it's fine.
It's fun.
I feel the same way about Election, too. I'm told I'm supposed to love Election. And I think I just saw it once and I was like, it's fine.
Jeff, I felt the same way.
Yeah. You know.
Like, my mom and I saw the first 10 minutes and we're like, this looks hilarious. And then we found it for very cheap somewhere and watched it and we're like, huh.
Yeah, it's a movie people really love and it just doesn't, I don't think does much for me. But I don't know, maybe we'll find a reason to watch that if Brandon ever gets back into politics.
Please don't.
So 90210 related. I'm wondering if every time we watch a movie about rich assholes, it's because Steve was just a rich asshole. Like,
low key.
Right?
I mean, again, I feel this movie has everything. It had teens manipulating other teens. It had murder. It had fights.
It had someone getting run over by a car, which is actually why we're watching this movie. Because of poor Andrea Zuckerman's leg.
Legs.
Yeah, but it's the one that's turned totally around that is I find so off-putting. But let me ask you this, because I need to talk about Ryan Felipe getting run over by a car.
Oh my God.
Because I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the death of Bobby Ewing. Okay. So, You never watched Dallas, right? Because it was basically off the air before you were 3. So I'm assuming you've never seen any Dallas. Is that a fair statement?
I had to think for a minute because I was thinking of the two women fighting, and then I went, "Oh, that's
It's
Dynasty."
Dynasty.
So no,
Okay.
I have never seen
Okay.
Dallas.
Are you familiar broad strokes with Dallas, or not at all?
Is that also the one with JR?
That's the one with Jr. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, we're gonna.
I've seen this reunion.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. So my mom was a huge Dallas fan. Like every Friday night, watched Dallas. My dad made fun of her for it. He thought it was stupid. And it's just a soap opera, whatever. It's fine. But when I was a kid, I was on my dad's side. Like, this song is dumb. Mom watches a stupid show. And that plays into why I want to talk about Bobby Ewing. So JR, obviously main character, but his brother Bobby, and there's like this battle, whatever, between the two of them. There's all sorts of shenanigans that happen. But at a certain point, somewhere season 7 or so, Patrick Duffy decides he wants off the show. So we're gonna kill Bobby Ewing, which is a big fucking deal. And the way they killed Bobby Ewing was they ran over him with a car in front of his house. And we had this on tape because my mom recorded, like we had a VCR. My mom was recording the show and watching it when she feels like watching it or whatever. The number of times I watched Bobby Ewing fly over the hood of that car, because we would put it in, cue it up to that moment of the episode, watch it, hit rewind to watch him fly back over the car, watch him get hit by the car again. I watched Bobby Ewing get run over by a car probably 100 times, and I loved it every time.
Wow.
It was so funny to me. It's like, this show is so ridiculous. He's just getting run over. Because what happened then, and we've talked about this a little bit, but it's one of the, Dallas is responsible for some tentpole TV moments. Like the Who Shot JR thing is the biggest cliffhanger in the history of television. It was everything. And then they did this thing where after a year away, Patrick Duffy decides he wants to come back to Dallas, but they had killed his character off. So everybody is like, how are they going to bring him back? How in the world can you bring this character back that I personally got to watch run over by a car 150 times? And so let's say that he left at the end of season 7. So all of season 8, no Bobby. Pam moves on. She's dating people. Other things happen, whatever. Pam goes to sleep at the end of the season finale of season 8, wakes up in the morning, walks into the bedroom, because there's someone in the shower, opens the shower, it's Bobby. End of season. And that's the right face. And they kept that whole thing secret from, like, the way they did that, which I think is fascinating, is they hired a hotel commercial crew, took them to a commercial crew, took them to a hotel, told them they were filming like a Head and Shoulders commercial. Patrick Duffy gets in the shower, turns to the good morning, whatever, and everyone thought they were shooting a shampoo commercial. And turns out when season 9 begins, all of season 8 was a dream. Pam was having a dream. And she woke up and found Bobby in the closet. He never died. So everything that had happened in season 8, they just retconned it. They wiped it all out. None of it happened. Like, there were characters who were pregnant that now they weren't pregnant anymore. There were like people who had gotten married that now weren't even dating. I mean, they erased it all. And
that was going to be my guess. I went, they did not make this a dream.
People have done dream sequences. Nobody had ever done the entire last season was a dream.
And then Lost said that.
No. Then what happened? Then what happened is the greatest TV finale in history, which is Newhart, where.
What?
Yes, you're not familiar. Wait. Okay. So I understand. Okay. So Bob Newhart had a TV show in the 60s where he played a counselor. He was a psychologist married to Suzanne Pleshette. They lived in an apartment, wood paneling, everything. The show in the 80s he's in, he's an innkeeper in Vermont, and his wife wears all these big, bright, colorful sweaters, and there's like these crazy townspeople that come in, Larry and his brother Daryl and his other brother Daryl, and like all of it. And the show is very funny, and I highly recommend it. At the end, Dick goes to sleep, and lights go to black. They come back up. He wakes up in bed with Suzanne Plachette, his wife from the first series. And he looks at her and he says, I just had the weirdest dream. I was an innkeeper in Vermont. And she's like, go to sleep, Bob. And he's like, you should wear more sweaters. He made the entire series a dream.
What?
It's fucking brilliant. That's why Newhart is the best, because you have to explain to people 3 different TV shows in order to like land this thing that everyone in the moment knew exactly what it was. And
this is why drugs were better before we had to worry about.
Oh my God, it was so good. It was because like when the lights come up and you see the first thing you see is the set of the old Newhart show. You're like, oh, that's his bed from that show. And then when he rolls over to look at his wife and it's Suzanne Plachette, the place just blows up. It's just the funniest fucking thing ever. Because it is note perfect. He made the entire season a dream, or the entire series a dream. And all of that because I just wanted to talk about watching Bobby Ewing get hit by a car over and
I was
over
going to say,
and
like,
over.
What a digression we
did.
Are you still here, Cheese Meisters?
They are, because they understand that Newhart ending was the best. What is the ESTF for you? If you don't have anything, what else is? I just talked a bit.
The only what else I had was I really liked the fact that they had a Baroque influence in like the set design, in how they spoke or carried themselves. I was like, that lends itself well. I love taking something from another time and putting it in modern times, provided you let things influence each other and like, that is very cool. Like, don't deny that this is a very antiquated story. And yes, again, it works with teens, but let's pay homage to things.
Well, clearly what they did is they looked at Dangerous Liaisons and they said, if it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Have we not been through enough this week?
Look, me making stupid jokes is the cure for what ails you.
This is true. Okay, my ESP. Yes. This has got to be the kinkiest teen drama ever. But not kinky in a fun way. Like it's...
Yeah.
This movie did for like teen sex what 50 Shades did for BDSM in relationships. It's like, ooh, this is not the I don't know, that this isn't what you wanted. This isn't what you think it's going to be.
Sure.
This isn't how any of this is supposed to go.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, I think this might be the biggest. Just because everything.
It also might be the most 90s.
It's not the most 90s, because the 90s is a broad spectrum.
Of course.
You know what I mean? It is a very 1999 movie. Like it might be the most 1999ist movie that is out there.
I would
music wise, temperament wise, the star power that you pulled in feels like 1999. So this might be the 1999ist movie out there.
They said we might not get to make movies in the year 2000 because everything's going to go back and computers are going to take over or not understand the concept of going back. Oh, what a time. I'm so glad I was
2 zeros, everybody. 2 zeros is going to fuck everything up.
I'm so glad I didn't understand it.
It was weird. That back to that Al Franken book. The reason he won the presidential race is he was a single issue candidate. ATM fees. His whole platform was you should not be charged an ATM fee by the owner of the ATM and the bank. You should not be double charged.
Cool.
And when Y2K happened in his book, the only thing affected were ATMs. Nice. Bringing his candidacy to the front and propelling him to victory. Wow. All because of Y2K and ATM fees. So
I did not know.
Why not?
Am I misinterpreting this? Was he on the ballot?
No, but he was a comedian at the time.
Oh,
this is before he even ran for being a senator.
Oh, okay. So
no, this is a work of speculative, silly fiction.
Okay, cool.
And when he wrote it, like in the he's up against Newt Gingrich because like that seemed like a reasonable assumption in 1997 whenever he wrote it that like Gingrich might be the nominee in 2000. So it was him imagining the election of the year 2000 like 2 or 3 years in advance and how he would win it, and it's so funny.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. 100% recommended. It's probably the funniest book I've ever read.
Well, I'm gonna need humor, so
yep, it's a good one. But Franken's humor tends to also make me angry because he's right about things, and you're just like, all right. So I think we did it. I think once again we have proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling.
Even cruel intentions.
So join us on Wednesday, Cheesemeisters, when we look at season 3, episode 13, Rebel with a Cause. Big, he's got a cause. There's a reason for this.
Nope.
I'm not sure. We haven't talked about what we're going to watch next week.
Because we already did Rebel.
We already did Rebel Without a Cause. Because it's fucking Dylan. But the one thing I was thinking of is maybe we find something where blackmail is at the heart of it. Because of Steve and Hutch.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. We'll think about it. We don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to watch next week, Cheesemeisters, but it'll be
it's been a theme.
Sure it'll be insane.
In this movie, last week's movie, like, my God.
Yep. I know, right? All right. So until then, Cheesemeisters.
Cheers.
Cheers.